So, the first story I want to talk about is my employment with the Honolulu Fire Department. And in order to set up the story, I have to go back a little. So, I graduated high school Kamehameha in 1975. And I had a girlfriend whose father was a fire captain in the Hawaii Fire Department. And that had piqued my interest in that as a career as a firefighter. So I had decided my junior year of high school, this is in 1974, to become a firefighter. And at the time, there was a program called CETA, CETA. It's Comprehensive Employment Training Act. And this is a federal program to get um, new employees. So, my dilemma at the time, 1974, a junior at Kamehameha, um, the CETA program had created a firefighters list that was 2,000 names long. And that list was still um, active even after I graduated high school in 1975. So I decided to forego going to any mainland firefighting schools and stay home. That way I could put my thumb on the pulse of the employment situation. So I signed up for the fire science program at the Honolulu Community College, which was downtown, sort of Kalihi ish of Oahu. And then it was just post Vietnam, so Vietnam War. And uh, my typical class was 30 to 35 students, but 34 of them, uh, there was only one other student with me. His name was Tolentino, but he and I were the only students that were not employed by the Honolulu Fire Department. So all of these men were using GI benefits for educational benefits from their military service, and they were in the fire department. So I was in class or in school with these firefighters. It took me 2 years, and I graduated in 1977, May 1977, with an Associate of Science Fire Science degree. And that kind of put me on the path to want to become a firefighter. Well, because it took some years for that CETA firefighting job list to shrink, I had to wait. And so it was our time to actually take the test. I took the firefighting entrance exam at Stevenson Elementary School, which is right below the Roosevelt campus, and I took the test. From what I recall, they had a list, and my uh, assigned number after I took the test was 92. That's not a score, that's just where I was in the line to be considered for employment. I was 92. And so it took me 3 years. When I graduated in 1977, I was actually hired by the Honolulu Fire Department in July 1st in 1980. And that was the start of my fire department career. I was working for the city and county of Honolulu in their public works division. So that was right after my junior college. So I was already employed 3 years working for local city government. And I got into the fire department. I was working as a heavy truck driver one out of the YNI comprehensive yard and working for my uncle, Albert Cam, at the time, when I made the transition from one city and county job to another city and county job. So, my hire date, and part of that employment process, you have to take um, a written test. And after you take a written test, you need to you need to take a medical exam to show fitness. And then the third thing you need is an agility test. Similar, the police department had an agility test, the firemen have an agility test. And so, one of the the first story that I wanted to share, or let me back up. Um, the fire chief, as I recall, at that time in 1980, the Honolulu Fire Department fire chief, his name was Frank Kaho'ohanohano Jr. The training captain was Captain Lionel Kamara. And we were the 18th fire recruit class. So, quick story about the agility test. So, the agility test for the fire department, it consisted of 2 days, 4 half days, where you were tested your physical body. You had a morning test, and then a lunch break, and then an afternoon test. And the next day, you had a different series of physical tests, a lunch break. And it concluded with the second day, fourth session of the agility test. Well, one of the physical skills that you need to have as a firefighter is to be able to swim. And so the first day, first morning, I was scheduled to do the swim test. The swim test was at Manoa Community Park, I think it was, but it's up in Manoa. It's the county's park, and we had the swim test. It was an Olympic-sized pool, and you had to swim the full distance of the pool, touch the end of the pool, and then you had to then submerge. You had to do a dive, and I think it was like, I don't know, 15 feet. You had to dive down, and you had to retrieve a 20-pound, it was a can with cement in it, but it was 20 pounds. You had to go down to the bottom of the pool, and you had to surface with that 20-pound can. And then you had to bring it to the edge of the pool and put it up on the top of the pool deck. And that was the end of your swim test. Well, growing up in Hawaii, I was exposed to, I had gone swimming and tried surfing. I'd done other water sports. I thought I could swim, but I knew I wasn't the greatest swimmer. But in being nervous and things like that, it was our group's turn, and I jumped in the water and I did my best. I swam to the end of the pool. I touched the end of the pool. I came away from the deck and I started to descend. I went down. I grabbed the can of cement. I brought it up to the surface with me, and at this time I was kind of struggling, and so I finally got up to the surface of the water and took in a little bit of water. And so I was struggling to get this cement can to the edge of the pool deck. And when I finally got it up there and they stopped my time, I was exhausted. I climbed out of the pool, and the firefighters who were in charge of that testing told me, "Sorry, brother, you missed it by 5 seconds." So that was devastating. 2 years of education, 3 years of preparation, and I thought I thought I was knocked out at the first test. So one of the firemen told me to go sit against the fence and wait. I said, okay. And the whole getting into the fire department employed, it was God intervening. So, like I said, these firemen that were doing the test, they told me to go sit on the side. And they said, we're going to test everybody else, and we're going to give you a second chance. But that's the only chance you're going to get. And so I sat and waited, and all of the candidates were tested. And then I had one last chance. And of course, I was praying. So anyway, to make the story shorter, I was given a second chance. I was able to swim the full length of the pool. And I went down for the concrete can, put it up on the deck, and they said I did it in time. So I was grateful that they gave me a second chance. I don't know how many times they do, or if I was the only one, but I passed the first agility test for the fire department. So this was now our lunch break, and the afternoon agility skill was to run a mile in under 8 minutes. For some athletes, top condition, 8 minutes sounds like easy peasy, no problem. But I was now exhausted. I swam the full length of the pool and missed it the first time, drank some water, tried to recover, and I had to go take a lunch break. At this same time, I had met and I was playing sports for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I had two men in particular. His name was Gary Groendike and Ken Gibson. Both of these men were in my Makakila ward, and we were playing sports, basketball together, volleyball together. And they were managers of a business called The Spa. And this particular location was the Punahou Spa. The Punahou Spa was several miles away from where I had taken this swim test. And so I went to the Punahou Spa and I contacted Gary and Ken, and I told them my situation. Told them I failed the first test. I was given a second chance, and I was able to, for some reason, I don't know, maybe it was the adrenaline, because how can you fail the first time and all of a sudden do within time the second chance after drinking some water, pool water? Anyway, Ken Gibson and Gary Groendike, returned missionaries. They gave me a priesthood blessing. I was too sick to eat, and I had had the 1 mile run scheduled. So they gave me a priesthood blessing, an administered priesthood blessing. And they told me to go sprawl out and lie down on one of the benches in the locker room to kind of just rest, because I think we had like an hour, hour and a half lunch break. So the second part on the first day, it was held at Kaimuki High School, and it was the high school track. And we were challenged to run 1 mile within 8 minutes. And on an empty stomach, no lunch, traumatic morning. And when it was my turn, I started to run. And what I remember of that day is to keep me focused and to keep running. I was singing the hymn, I Know That My Redeemer Lives. And I was remembering the priesthood blessing that Gary Grundyke and Ken Gibson had administered. And I completed the run. Again, not the best athlete, not the best time, but it was under 8 minutes. So, skill number 2 accomplished. First day of agility training under my belt. Done. Now to add to that story for that particular day, I was living at home in Makakilo, and I had gone home and talked to my mom. So for some of you, it's going to be your grandma, and maybe others, it's going to be your great grandma. I told my mom the challenges that I had, the blessing that I received, and the hymn that I was singing to complete the mile. And so Grandma asked me, or Mom asked me, what time were you doing the run? And I told her whatever time I thought it was, because there's a lot of men trying out, and so it's staggered. And so I got in 1980, this is 2022, that's 42 years ago. So I might be off by an hour, but I think I ran the mile maybe 2:30 in the afternoon. And so anyway, why this is significant is because Grandma asked me, what time are you taking the test? And I told her 2 or 2:30. And she said, that's funny, because I was hanging close at the clothesline. She said she was humming the same hymn at the same time while I was taking that run skill test. And again, that was the completion of the first day. So I thought those were significant segments or portions of my wanting to become a firefighter. The second day again was in 2 parts, and we had to run up a 5-story building, so that's 10 flights of stairs, and it was timed, and we had 1 bundle of hose. Each bundle weighs 50 pounds. So I had to carry 50 pounds of hose that was curled up, kind of looked like a rubber band. But I had to carry that up 5 stories or 10 flights. And the technique to do that is to you hold the bundle in one hand and you use the other hand, the hand that's closest to the railing, and you grab the handle, I mean the handrail, and you're trying to hold the bundle, grab the handrail, and run up these stairs at that time. And I was able to pass that on the second day after a good night's rest. The last test was in the afternoon on the second day, and they have you climb up a fire truck aerial ladder, and the aerial ladder is positioned at 70-degree angle, and you had to go up, you had to ascend to a 75-foot marker and ascend and descend at one time without stopping, without freaking out. So I was able to pass the agility test. Now, one last thing about the fire department agility test was to, like I said earlier, I was in the 18th recruit class of the Honolulu Fire Department, and we had a special luncheon, that pinning ceremony where we earned our fire department badges. My classmates asked me to be like the keynote speaker. They wanted me to represent our class, and so at this luncheon, when you had fire department dignitaries and others, I was the one asked to speak for my classmates. And I think there was Stacy Higa, I think, was one other firefighter that was shorter than I was, and everybody else was taller, bigger, buff, but I was the second shortest firefighter in my class. But for whatever reason, they asked me to be the class spokesman. Okay, so I was in the fire department from July 1st, 1980 until I left the fire department. I chose to resign from the fire department in the summer. I think it was June 30th, 1986. So I spent 6 full years in the Honolulu Fire Department. The assignments that I remember when I came out of recruit class, the first assignment I had was assigned to Engine 31, which was on Waikimilo. And then the second assignment was Engine 1, which is downtown Honolulu. And then I had some interest in being more active as a firefighter, so my captain suggested that I go fight fires in the country on the west side of Oahu. And so I was then assigned Engine 28, which is Nanakuli, and I spent the summer out there. From there, I was, instead of going back to my engine number 1 downtown Honolulu, I went from Engine 28 to Engine 35, which is Makakilo. And that's where home was, closer to home, easy commute to home. But when I met and married mom or grandma or great grandma, depending who's watching, I wanted to relocate to where we were gonna live in downtown Honolulu. So I transferred from Engine 35 to a Makali fire station, and I was assigned to Ladder 28, is where I finished my career as a firefighter. One last story about the fire department. At the time, I was married in 1982. This 2 years already into the fire department, and married life 4 years. And by then I had 2 children, Cami and Erwin, and I was actively participating in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the University Ward, and I was serving as the Elders Quorum President. So when you have a firefighter work schedule, you work 24-hour shifts. That prevented me from attending church every Sunday. I could attend church 6 times, 6 Sundays in a row, and then I had to work 3 Sundays in a row for my firefighting shift. So at this point, I wanted to have a bachelor's degree, and this is 1986. I had graduated from high school 11 years prior. I'd been in the fire department for 6 years, and I was only able to take 2 classes per semester. And again, with the firefighting schedule, I had to swap shifts just to attend college courses. So it was gonna take me another 10, 12 years before I got my bachelor's degree. So we had a crossroads. Mom or grandma had to be mom and dad for the whole family during those shifts, those 10 firefighting 24-hour work shifts that I had each month. So mom was being mom and dad. I had a leadership church calling that I could only attend 2/3 of the time. I was trying to get a college degree and had hard time scheduling classes. Going back to college may have thrown us up higher on the socioeconomic rung. And I had applied to 3 universities. I applied to University of Hawaii. I had applied to University of BYU Hawaii, which is the church-sponsored school on Oahu, and BYU Provo. I was accepted at BYU Provo, and I was given the most scholarship money. So we decided that we would leave the fire department, leave Hawaii, leave Oahu. We had been married for 4 years at this point, and it was time to seek out a new adventure. At the time, so for all the reasons, the fire department was causing, if I could say that, a disruption, or it didn't allow me to attend church every Sunday. And I was promised in a blessing that if I would keep the Sabbath day holy, I would be blessed. So I wanted to attend church every Sunday. I wanted to be able to fulfill my church calling in leadership position by doing that as well. And so we made a decision, and I felt comfortable going to BYU Provo, the church-sponsored school, because we thought of ourselves as Father Lehi's family. That's how we saw ourselves back in the day. We said we're just like Father Lehi's family, and we are leaving our homeland, and we're going on this spiritual adventure. And I was going to go to BYU for college education and more religious education. So those are the experiences that I recall in my fire department: interest, education, employment, and we decided to go to BYU. So that's going to end this segment of my Honolulu Fire Department experiences, and stay tuned. We're going to do another segment about the BYU years.